Hello and welcome to another episode of a weekly Waypoint, in a week where I recorded all of my footage and then it occurred to me that I should probably go back and make sure that it uploaded fine last week, and I found out that it did, but YouTube's algorithm hates the speed in which this game is played, so I watched the raw file before I uploaded it to YouTube and that looks fine. That looks pretty much the way it does when I'm playing it, but when I upload it to YouTube, oh boy, it doesn't look great. So I'm sorry you've got another week of it. If it sucks, I mean, I don't really tend to get feedback, but if you're someone who's watching this and you think it sucks, please let me know. If you're someone who's watching this and thinks that it's acceptable, please also let me know. I don't know, I'm probably just going to evaluate it on my own after I upload this week's episode of A Weekly Waypoint. You'll also notice that I I looked up the console commands to set time limits and frag limits for this game, so visuals aside, is now a perfect fit for the weekly waypoint. I can mold it how I like. Still, it's dumb that there's no UI elements in order to do that kind of a thing. Also, we're playing Instagib because I thought, hey, why not give Instagib a shot? Turns out Instagib in this arena shooter, just like with all other good arena shooters, is very fun. I've probably talked about this before, but most of my time spent playing Unreal Tournament against bots has been in Instagib mode, so I just love it because I'm not necessarily good at it, but I do get the odd see through the matrix moment with like flick shots and stuff like that, and those rare moments are worth playing entire matches for. It's so good. So the question burning on everyone's minds is, of course, Christian, how have you been spending your week outside of Final Fantasy XIV? Because boy, have I sure been spending a lot of time in that Square Enix published RPG. But don't worry, because I spent a lot of this week spending much of my time in a different Square Enix published RPG. Dragon Quest Builders 2, of course. Okay, I'm sorry, I'll never do that again. But come on, tell me you don't hum that to yourself whenever you open up a Dragon Quest game, or whichever ones have that theme in it. I know 11 does, I think 11 does, I don't know. But yeah, I'm not going to go too much on about it because I have written about it over at kritigri.wordpress.com. Once again, that is kritigri.wordpress.com, where every month I publish a blog post about my escapades on Xbox Game Pass, and this month I've been playing Dragon Quest Builders 2 through it, so that's nice. But yeah, I own the first one on Switch, and I was absolutely delighted to hear that the second one was coming to Game Pass. And so far, I'm completely screwballing this. Is that the right word? I'm completely guessing this because there's no way of checking your playtime yet on Xbox Series S. But I think I've spent about 15 hours in that game so far. I have loved just about every second of it. I love the Dragon Quest flavour of it. I love the fact that it's Minecraft, but with gameplay. I love following blueprints and throwing down blocks and making things go. And I, as kind of one note as it is, I do love the basic story of like, you're the guy who builds, go build things for people who have had their entire towns ruined, and just seeing settlements grow back up and stuff like that. It is incredibly satisfying, and I highly recommend it if it sounds at all interesting to you. And I want to play it, and I want to play through all of it, and I want to beat it, and I want to see the credits so that I can segue alert. Log my progress on howlongtobeat.com. What is howlongtobeat.com, you ask? Well, weary listener. I mean, entertained listener, of course. How Long to Beat is a very simple website where you basically, for instance, if you're playing like a JRPG and you or any game where you have an idea of how far through it you are, like, oh, I think I'm 30 hours through this game. How much more game is there to it? Because sometimes you can't really tell. You go to How Long to Beat, you put it in there, and user kind of inputted times will show up as an average of like rushed through or completed with some bonus stuff or perfected, and it will kind of tell you how long a game is to beat. But what does that have to do with the price of fish and chips? Well, dear reader, you're not reading this. Well, dear listener, here's take two, because I had a horrible explanation. It went left and right and all the way around this circle before it. I'm doing it again. Straight to the point, it's just a nifty little place to have all of your kind of completed games on there. And I went through like my achievement dates of games that I completed and put some Xbox and PlayStation stuff up there. I put some Nintendo stuff up there without dates on because I have no idea when that was. And I imported my Steam library. And spent a while categorizing all of that stuff, so there is a decent kind of representation of, at least the last few years, of me completing video games. And the reason I like that is because it's just nice to have a list which you can check off and stuff like that. It's not up there for bragging rights or for anything like that, it's just nice. It's a lot like how I view achievements. It's just nice to have, to kind of like look back on and be like, oh, I remember that a few months ago when I did that, or whatever. And going forwards, I'm going to be, if I have the playtime available to me, logging my playtime as well on completion, so that I can kind of contribute to the statistics of the main reason of that website. You can find my profile over at howlongtobeat.com/user?n equals Kritigri. I'll put the link in the description, but it's cool. Like, you can put what you're currently playing on there as well, and it's just like, I've been getting more and more obsessed with retro games lately, and the thing that bums me out about playing retro games a lot of the time is that I have come to love the creature comforts of having achievements to kind of like give me those little serotonin hits when I achieve milestones in the game, and add to like a meta profile. And then more recently, I've also enjoyed being able to record my gameplay and make videos out of games that I'm playing. For instance, I'm going to be playing Final Fantasy VII on PC instead of Xbox, purely for the reason that I can record my reactions to things and stuff like that and make videos out of it. And obviously on older consoles you can't do that, or you might be able to record stuff if you have a capture card maybe. I don't really know how that entire setup works, but I don't have a capture card. But thinking about it another way, if I maybe go back and play Crash Bandicoot 1 on PlayStation 1 and finish that, I could just log my completion in How Long to Beat, and that will be a nice little, oh yeah, look what I did, I finished it, I checked a box. Anyone who likes making to-do lists knows what I'm talking about, okay? Don't look at me like that. But also I realised that I could also like make a thing of, if I finish a game like that on an older thing, I can still make content out of it by writing about it or by making a thoughts on video about it. So maybe I should get back into playing older games, but only after I've got over my obsession with Final Fantasy XIV, because my god, that game, I spent a long time today doing botany again. I keep like being like, oh, I've got a day off, I'm gonna spend ages playing the main story for Heaven's Ward and get a decent chunk of that done. And then a few hours have gone by and I realised I've just been chopping trees and listening to podcasts with my day, which is great. It's a way of enjoying the game, it's a skill I want to level, it ties back into the main game in a really interesting way, and it's even got its own storylines. It's absolutely fine that I'm doing botany, but I do kind of feel like I've forsaken a really interesting storyline and a whole bunch of main gameplay to go and chop trees like I could be doing in RuneScape. I don't know. Oops, I talked about Final Fantasy XIV. I've been playing so much of that game, by the way, that I haven't slowed down on the video making side of things either. I've just decided to start scheduling my videos, and you may have noticed that today's video, you probably didn't notice, I wouldn't expect anyone to, I wouldn't, but this video came out at exactly 6 PM on a Tuesday because I scheduled it to be that way. The difference between that and the shenanigans style, adventure style videos is that I did record this like on the Monday prior. Like, this is still like an accurate representation of what I did for my week. I'm not recording a bunch of weekly waypoints and scheduling them ahead of time. That kind of defeats the purpose of the weekly waypoint, but we are about a week ahead in terms of scheduled Final Fantasy XIV videos, and I expect that to be much further as we go on with things, even if it's not Final Fantasy videos. I'm basically going to have a video scheduled for Thursday at 6 PM and Saturday at 6 PM UK time, of course. If I really do become super inundated with videos, that may change. There may be more frequent videos to upload, but at the same time I might also run out of videos and they might not come every week, who knows. Thoughts on videos are going to come as they will, because I'm not going to be scheduling my entire life around finishing specific fictional content to talk about it to upload at a regular pace. That would be madness. So if I finish something and I want to make a thoughts on about it and talk about it and upload it, that's what I'm gonna do, and I'm not gonna schedule those videos. They're just gonna come out like all other videos used to, just when they're done. You may have also noticed I'm uploading weekly thoughts on videos about Star Wars The Bad Batch. That's because I've decided, and I talked about this a little bit in the first episode, but for those of you who aren't interested in watching Star Wars The Bad Batch, I'll reiterate here, I when I did WandaVision, I did the thoughts per episode on WandaVision and uploaded it all in one batch at the end. It felt weird to have a recording of me talking about the very beginning of a series and not knowing what was going on when we'd already all seen the end of it. And while that was kind of part of the selling point for thoughts per episode, I think it would make much more sense if I uploaded them when the episode was current. And yeah, so that's why I'm doing thoughts on Bad Batch episodes weekly. It also gives me a little bit more time to kind of spend with each episode talking about it, because there was definitely an element as well as of like, oh man, I talked about this episode for 10 minutes and there's not much room left in the video. In fact, I don't even know if I'm going to upload this, but I was doing a thoughts per episode on Spider-Man the 1981 cartoon, and I kind of lost my way with that because I approached each episode differently. Some of them I was pausing in between each different scene and talking about it as it was happening. Some of them I was just doing by talking about it at the very end. I don't know what I'm going to do with that, because each show, I think, has a different kind of suitable thoughts on style to suit it. Not necessarily whether it's a show or a movie, but whether it's like a mystery show versus a cartoon. Like, there's only so much I can say about every single cartoon episode. I might just finish watching that series and do a thoughts on the general series at the end of it and throw out what I've already got. I don't know. So there you go. There's a lot about what I put in behind the scenes to these videos, which I don't advertise anywhere, so hardly anyone gets to see, because I guess that's how I like to spend my free time. I guess I'll close out this video by mentioning that my rekindled fascination with retro games isn't really going away, and over on kritigri.wordpress.com I recently put up a blog post exploring my PlayStation 1 games that I had as a child, and I am now going to be writing a blog post about PS2 games, but in between that I've put up a post, or I'm scheduling a post for a couple of weeks from now, about MMOs, and 5 particular MMOs which I play. They won't come as any surprise to you if you follow this channel, but what I think each one does best and what I personally love about each one, as well as like a personal gripe about each one and stuff like that. I think it's one of the most coherent pieces of writing I've ever made about video games, so I'm excited for that to go live. So yeah, this week was a bit more of a general content creation update, but if you I mean, you're here, so thank you for watching it. Thank you for listening to me ramble on about how I keep my thoughts ordered in my head and how I while away the hours on this rock that that tumbles through space without losing my mind to the madness that will surely consume us all. I've been watching Invincible, by the way.